What if I told you that by the time you hit 40, you could be completely done with the 9 to 5 grind? Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning, not because an annoying alarm clock is screaming at you, but because the sun finally hit your face. While everyone else is stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, stressing about a boss who doesn't even know their middle name, you're deciding whether to go surfing or just spend the day playing the best video games ever made. Most people think retiring is something only old people do. But there is a secret, forensic blueprint that some people are using to escape the rat race before they even get their first wrinkle. This blueprint has nothing to do with winning the lottery or being born with a silver spoon. Rather, it's about understanding the math of freedom. To understand how this works, we have to perform a financial autopsy on standard life. Most people are born into a trap called the consumption cycle. You go to school to get a job so you can buy a car to get to that job, so you can pay for the house that stays empty while you're at that job. It's a literal hamster wheel. It's how the system designed it. Forget most of the success you see on Instagram. It's actually just debt in a fancy outfit. Retiring at 40 requires you to be a money detective. You have to look at every single dollar and ask, are you a soldier helping me escape? Or are you a spy helping the system keep me trapped? The first and most legendary method is the FIRE strategy. FIRE here means financial independence, retire early. This is the brute force way to freedom. The blueprint here is the rule of 25. If you can save 25 times what you spend in a year and tuck it into the stock market, you're technically free. Why? Because of the 4% rule. If your money is in a giant freedom bucket, like an index fund, it usually grows by about 7% a year. If you only take out 4% to live on, the bucket never runs dry. You are literally living off the babies your money is having. But let's analyze the grind phase of FIRE. It requires a superlative level of discipline. We are talking about saving 50 to 70% of your paycheck. For most people, that sounds like a prison sentence. They'll simply say YOLO, which means you only live once, and use it as an excuse to buy a $7 coffee. But the forensic view is different. As a matter of fact, YOLO is exactly why you should save. Think about it. Why spend your only life sitting in a cubicle under fluorescent lights for decades? However, I wouldn't be completely honest with you if I failed to mention that FIRE can also lead to delayed life syndrome, a situation where you are so busy preparing for 40 that you forget to enjoy being 20. The trick to avoiding this is selective frugality. That is, cutting the trash spending while keeping the things that actually make your heart beat faster. If the save until it hurts method feels too slow, we have to look at the hyper-growth engine, entrepreneurship. This is the fast lane. Instead of saving a small piece of a paycheck, you build a value machine that you can sell for a massive exit. For example, let's say you start a simple trash bin cleaning business. At first, you're the one scrubbing, but then after a while, you were able to hire 10 people. Then you buy more trucks. Then a giant company comes along and buys your business for $5 million. And just like that, you're 40 and you're done. You didn't save your way to freedom, you built your way there. However, we have to be critical. Starting a business is the most dangerous path. Don't count your chickens before they hatch is a warning for a reason. Sometimes 9 out of 10 businesses fail. If you put all your eggs in that one basket and it drops, you aren't retiring at 40, you're starting over at 40. The forensic blueprint for the entrepreneur is risk mitigation. You don't quit your day job and bet your life savings on a whim. You build your side hustle until it's screaming for more time. Then you make the jump. You use the money soldiers from your boring job to fund your freedom mission. Then there's the real estate empire method. This is the landlord blueprint, and here's how it works. Let's say you somehow find a means to buy one small apartment every 2 years. By the time you're 40, you'll probably own 5 or 6 properties depending on when you started. The tenants are paying off your mortgages, and there's a cash flow left over that hits your bank account every month like clockwork. This is passive income, the holy grail of finance.
But let's look closer. Being a landlord isn't passive if a pipe bursts at 3 a.m. or a tenant disappears without paying. Real estate is a debt game. You're using the bank's money to get rich, which is a double-edged sword. If the housing market crashes, that sword can swing back and cut your retirement dreams to pieces. To survive this, you need a moat, a big pile of emergency cash so that even if a house sits empty for 6 months, you aren't sweating. However, if you can't find the funds or means to venture into real estate, I have another option you may like. It's called the Digital Nomad Blueprint. This is geo-arbitrage. It's a fancy word for a simple trick. Earn strong money, like dollars or pounds, but live in a cheap place, like Bali, Portugal, or Thailand. If you earn $4,000 a month working online, you're struggling in New York. But in a small beach town in South America, you're living like a king. You can retire much earlier because your cost of freedom is lower. You're essentially hacking the global economy. But there's a downside, though. You're far from home, and if the local currency or politics change, your paradise can turn into a headache. We also have to discuss the intellectual property goldmine. This is for the creators. You create something once, say a book, an app, a course, a song, etc., and it sells forever. This is scalable wealth. It's like a ghost worker who never sleeps and never asks for a raise. You're no longer trading your time for money, you're trading value for money. But the reality check is that the internet is a crowded room. To win here, you can't just be good, you have to be the most unique voice in the crowd. You have to solve a problem that nobody else is solving. These are ways you can achieve your financial freedom early and retire at 40 or even before 40. But every rose comes with a thorn, and to every success story, there's an Achilles heel. And for this blueprint, the thorn is inflation. In simple terms, inflation is the invisible thief that makes your money worth less every year. If you just stuff your cash under a mattress, you're actually getting poorer. Your money soldiers are dying of old age. To reach 40 and stay retired, you have to be an investor. You have to own assets, things that go up in value. Stocks, gold, Bitcoin, real estate. These are the armor that protects your freedom from the thief of inflation. But even with all the money in the world, many people fail at retiring at 40 because they forget the psychological blueprint. If your whole identity is your job and you quit at 40, you'll be bored out of your mind in 6 months. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. The most successful early retirees aren't doing nothing. They're doing whatever they want. They've moved from work for survival to work for joy. They might volunteer, start a garden, or learn a new language. The freedom isn't about being lazy, it's about having total sovereignty over your own clock. So, how do you start? You become a financial minimalist. You realize that everything you buy is actually a piece of your life you had to sell to get it. When you look at a $1,000 phone, don't see a gadget, see the 50 hours of your life you'll never get back. Once you start seeing the world through this forensic lens, you stop being a consumer and start being a collector of days. The path to 40 is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be times when the stock market dips and you feel like a failure. There will be times when your friends are buying new cars and you feel like a loser in your 10-year-old Toyota. But remember, they are buying clutter and you are buying the future. You are building a fortress that will protect you for the next half-century. Are you ready to stop being a customer of the world and start becoming an owner of your time? If this forensic blueprint clicked for you, do not let this be another dead hobby video. Like this video to lock in your commitment to freedom and subscribe so we can keep sharpening your money detective skills. Comment below with your freedom number. How much do you actually need to never work again? Let's do the math together. See you in the next one.